So we have an update on the information that I made a video of on yesterday, which were Tribbie's kits, the Planar, and as well as My Day. Now I believe there aren't any new news about My Day, however there's more new and more specific news for Tribbie and the Planar set. So this is going to be about the Planar set. Starting us off, one of the Planar sets will increase crit rate by 8%, and if your crit rate is greater than 70%, increases additional damage by 30%. So this, I'm just going to be completely honest, sounds bonkers. Like, this actually sounds absolutely bonkers, right? And next we have the second Planar set, which increases HP by 12%. If your HP is higher than 5,000, boosts the crit damage of both the wearer and their memo sprites by 25%. Now, this is quite obviously Casterus's one, right? Because I believe that, My Day is destruction, so he's not going to have a memo sprite. However, this will benefit Casterus 100% the most. Her memo sprite will get a 25% crit damage increase, aside from her herself as well getting the crit damage increase. So it's looking like from Casterus's 3.0 relic set and to this Planar set that she is getting absolutely insane amounts of crit value, right? Like, that is no joke at all. I believe her normal relic set gives 36% crit rate if you have her at 95 base speed, which is 72 crit value. And then this added on to that makes it 97 crit value with both the Planar set and the normal relic set together. And this is not including substats on any relic piece. So that is absolutely crazy, aside from the fact that this also increases her HP overall, right? So that's it. That's all we really have for that. And next we have an update on the Tribbie leaks. Now we have something a little more detailed, which is nice. Yesterday I made a mistake in my video. Thank you to all of you who called me out on it. I was like really sleepy at the time, and I saw the word HP scaling so goddamn much that I just assumed that it gave damage bonus to HP scaling characters. However, Tribbie herself scales her buffs off of her own max HP. So that's what I truly meant to say. She's not going to give like any special buff to HP scalers as far as we know so far, right? So let's get into it. Her basic attack can attack up to 3 enemies. Nothing special, right? A lot of people have been skeptical, especially in my live streams, saying that there's no way Tribbie replaces Robin in literally like any team. I do believe people do not understand who this is we're talking about, right? Just because she doesn't have action advance doesn't mean she's going to be bad, right? This is something that Hoyo does quite often, is going beyond expectations and power creeping characters. This is a 3.x harmony. I have zero doubt that she will be able to scale really well. Cough cough. She'll probably have the best buffs in the entirety of the game, without a doubt. And because she's a team buffer, she inherently has more value than, let's say, a hyper carry buffer such as Sunday, right? So let's get into her skill. Provides an aura that grants team-wide buffs, covering almost all of her support capabilities, including damage boosts and res pen. So by using her skill, she's automatically going to give damage boost and res pen, which I believe is very similar to Ruan Mei. Next we have the ultimate. Deals AoE damage and applies a buff. During the buff's duration, enemies take additional damage when hit. So it seems like when she uses her ult, she adds some type of vulnerability to a mob or mobs, right? Which sounds really, really broken. However, there is a better interpretation of this ult further down the line, which I'll get into in a little bit. Her talent, after an ally uses their ultimate to attack enemies, Tribbie will follow up with a follow-up attack, which is why, like I've explained in my previous video, this is why she's the best in slot with Herda. The fact that she can energy recharge for Herda is really nice. Like, there isn't another harmony or support in the game, as far as I'm aware, that can actually hit like multiple enemies at once. Like, I'm not talking sub DPS, literally just a pure support who can hit a lot of enemies at once, right? So this is going to make her absolutely the best in slot for the Herda, as she's going to be getting Herda more energy a lot easier, right? Next we have Traces, almost entirely focused on self-support, including increasing damage, max HP, and ER. So what this means is that her traces really aren't going to increase like damage bonus or res pen or anything like that. I was speculating that it might be possible that she has something similar to that, but it seems like she's not, and instead it's just going to increase her max HP, damage, and ER. Now the max HP is probably going to be the main one, since that's her entire shtick. The higher the HP she has, the bigger the damage bonus buff she gives to the entire team. So that's going to be interesting depending on how it scales, right? Next we have Eidolons, all focused on boosting Tribbie's damage output. So what this means is that the more Eidolons you get, the more damage Tribbie is going to do. Now the reason this could be either very broken or very weak is if it's like minuscule damage, who really cares, right? It's kind of a gimmick right now where at E0, I don't think she'll do enough damage, and it's more of a gimmick to recharge energy for Herda. However, at further Eidolons, if it's possible that she ends up doing like DPS numbers, this would be incredibly broken, because if you think about it, she does this follow-up literally every time someone on her team uses an ult. That is very, very often, not including the fact that she herself does AoE damage on her ult as well. So it's just attack after attack after attack. I do imagine it's going to be scaled down a bit to not be anything too significant. However, either way, this is going to add decent damage to like anyone's team, whoever you run her on, right? And next we have the Light Cone. Provides crit damage support. If anybody can help the team finish off all enemies. Sorry, my screen just went black for a second. That's the best kind of support. So she is going to be a Harmony with likely the best buffs in the entirety of the game, and alongside that actually being able to do damage herself. So I assume the more you invest in like her Eidolons or Light Cone, the significantly stronger her damage is going to be, increasing her value. However, whether or not this damage ends up being significant enough to decide pulling on her at E0S0, we will end up seeing very soon, in around 2 weeks, right? And then here is the fixed translation for the ult about it giving a buff, right? It says here, deals AoE damage and applies a buff. During the buff's duration, when enemies take damage, the enemy with the highest HP will take additional damage. Now, does this mean that she's gonna end up, you know, what's it called, doing the damage herself? Like, is this a damage multiplier, or does her attack just straight up just do more damage? I'm really confused, right? However, I do think... No. Okay, so when enemies take damage, the enemy with the highest HP takes additional damage. So this doesn't say Tribbie, I think. This isn't specifically saying Tribbie, meaning I believe this is a part of the buff that comes with her ult. I could be wrong here. If I am wrong, it means that all enemies have some type of damage vulnerability, and on top of that, her ult will also do extra damage to the highest HP mob. But I do think this is part of the buff, where so long as the buff is up, the enemy with the most HP will take additional damage no matter who on your team is hitting, which, depending on, once again, the scaling for this, could be incredibly broken, right? Like, this will make certain targets or single target bosses a lot easier to kill when you have Tribbie on your team, and this will as well, once again, benefit the Herda quite a bit, right? Because Herda mostly does damage against multiple mobs on field, but this adds even further to her single target damage. And that's going to be all we have today. Nothing really crazy, right? Just a brief explanation, a better explanation, you could say, of the leaks that I went over yesterday. So Tribbie is looking very, very strong. Even if she's not, let's say, Robin tier, like a lot of people are saying, oh, there's no way she ends up being better than Robin. She's going to be worse than Robin without action advance. It truly all is up to Hoyo and just how exactly they do the scaling in her testing, right? Because if the scaling high enough, she can easily be the strongest Harmony in the game. For the simple fact that, aside from the fact that she does damage every single time your teammates ult and she ults, but HP scaling means the higher the HP you go, the higher the buffs are going to be for all of your teammates, which could possibly be very, very broken, right? So that's going to be it for the video. Hope you all have a good day. Hope you all have a good night. Peace.